Let me give you a quick overview of the type of research that I have been involved with for the past 3 decades. Currently, I'm a professor of health and exercise science at Appalachian State University, and I direct the Human Performance Lab for Appalachian State University at the North Carolina Research Campus in Kannapolis near Charlotte, North Carolina. Our mission is the scientific discovery leading to improved health and performance. So the North Carolina Research Campus was built and then dedicated in 2008. David H. Murdoch built this campus with his own money. He is the billionaire owner of Dole Foods. He invited the various universities throughout the state to come. The state puts about $30 million a year into this campus and supports faculty, technicians, etc. Mr. Murdoch personally invited me to come and run the Human Performance Lab to build this up, create it, and maintain it. And I've been doing that since 2008 when the campus got going. So the research focus in my Human Performance Lab is looking at nutritional and lifestyle countermeasures to the acute effects of exercise and the chronic effects of obesity on immune dysfunction, inflammation, oxidative stress. I've been funded through many different companies, sat on some of their boards, gone to their headquarters, etc., and have developed a close relationship with industry and their research needs. So what I tell all of the companies that I work with, everything we do has to be double-blinded, placebo-controlled. We collaborate widely with Chapel Hill and NC State University, UNC Greensboro, Charlotte, and other institutions, and use advanced technologies like metabolomics, genomics, proteomics. We use muscle biopsies, ultrasound. We have a metabolic chamber, and I'll introduce you to some of that here. At the heart of what we're currently doing is metabolomics. This allows a systems-wide approach to investigating the effect of any intervention on human physiology and function. And we have published quite a bit in this area lately and just submitted a huge NIH 6-year, $6 million grant in this area. So over the last 3 decades, I've had the opportunity to work with many different populations, including many elite athletic groups. I worked with the Gatorade Sports Science Institute at the Ironman Triathlon in Kona, Hawaii. My research group has been at the Western States 100-mile race out in California for 5 summers. These are elite Olympic swimmers who swim for Swim Mac in Charlotte. I've been funded through DARPA in their Peak Soldier Performance Program to analyze the effects of quercetin on the immune systems of warfighters. I worked with the Olympic female rowers at the training center just outside of San Diego. Published a couple papers on them. We've had Lance Armstrong into our lab twice in 1998 when he was making his comeback from cancer before he then went ahead and won 7 tours in a row. And here he is in my lab at Appalachian State University. So let me just show you a couple videos and that kind of provide an overview of what we've been doing. So in this video, it gives an overview of my work on exercise immunology and the testing we did with Lance. I have a doctorate in public health, but my area of research interest has been exercise and how it affects the immune system. The finding that has the largest public health impact has been that if people go out for a daily walk, about 45 minutes, positive changes occur to the immune system and sickness rates drop in half. As soon as you start upping the amount of exercise and the intensity, like in running a marathon, then things turn around. Running a marathon increases the odds of sickness about 6 times higher than normal. So the athletes, they're interested in what can I do or what can I take to bolster my immunity during the days after a marathon. And we've been dedicating the resources of our lab during the last 15 years to answer that question. Lance Armstrong used to train in our mountains. His coach actually brought him to our lab, and we tested him twice during his comeback from cancer. We just finished a series of studies for the Department of Defense and have found a new molecule called quercetin will reduce sick days dramatically. Our team is considered the top team in the United States. We have more publications in this area than any other team in the U.S. Our research has impacted the lives of many people, as I've been giving lectures around the world on this, and that is highly gratifying to us. Okay, so let me show you another video, an overview of some of our most recent studies. We worked with Dole Foods and showed that a half a banana with water every 15 minutes supported high-intensity exercise just as well as Gatorade, but provided added nutritional value and antioxidant support. We tested the effects of the adaptogen rhodiola rosea on post-race muscle damage in marathon runners. What we found is that muscle damage was not affected by rhodiola rosea, but it did improve antiviral defense. We worked with the pit crew at Hendrick Motorsports. These power athletes looked at vitamin D. It actually amplified muscle damage. It did not prevent it, which was surprising. We have taken hundreds of biopsies. We've been a leader in looking at inflammatory gene expression in the muscle samples and have shown that muscle glycogen depletion predicts inflammation in the muscle and the genes getting turned on. We also were the first team to show that you can use ultrasound intensity change to correlate with muscle biopsy glycogen depletion during exercise. In many of our quercetin studies, we've shown that quercetin counters inflammation in cell cultures, but in humans this doesn't happen, and we think it's because of biotransformation with conjugation. We tested 750 middle-aged students in our lab twice over a 3-year period. Unfortunately, 4 out of 10 of these students were overweight, and we showed that if they were overweight, it predicted lower scores for aerobic fitness, anaerobic power, strength, and body fat. All of these kids were tested for body composition in the bod pod and for sprint power and aerobic fitness. It was a great experience for them, but it also revealed the problem we have in this country with obesity in kids. This was a study funded through the American Pistachio Growers. We found that raffinose in pistachios leaked out of the colon during heavy exercise and actually caused a leukotoxin to build up, impairing performance. Here we are working with Under Armour. They had some athletic shirts they were interested in testing. We found that bare skin actually worked better than their new shirts, and it showed that it's a very difficult task to improve on skin for sweat evaporation. I'd say that my most important finding during the last 3 decades is that the common cold is less common among the fit. This received worldwide attention. What we showed in rank order in 1,000 individuals studied during the winter and fall is that sick days during the winter or fall were lowest in older people, but that the most important lifestyle factor was being a fit person. Just medium or high fitness predicted fewer sick days in this group. Notice that high education actually translated to more sickness. Being separated, divorced, more sickness. Females had more sickness. And over here we showed that 3 servings of fruit a day or more lowered sickness rate. So as I tell people, if you're a highly fit, older, uneducated, married male who eats fruit, your sick days are way down. And once again, this received worldwide press. We were on the evening news, BBC, Voice of America, Wall Street Journal, etc. We've done 3 studies in the metabolic chamber here at the North Carolina Research Campus. We were the first to show that when people live in here a whole day, and by the way, they were fed exactly what they were burning in that chamber, and here is a subject being fed through our airlock chamber. Here we have a subject going in. This is the buffer room, and then you go into the inner room, like a small hotel room. You see the bicycle in there, and then they're sealed in there for a day, and they can sleep, and we feed them. And we wanted to see if you insert a 45-minute cycling bout, what does that do to the energy expenditure in a given day? And using this very sophisticated metabolic chamber, of which there's only about a dozen in the United States, again, we were the first to show that in 10 men, this is their energy expenditure throughout the day, and then when they're sleeping over here. But if they exercised, they, of course, burned a lot of calories during exercise, but most importantly, we showed that for a total of 14.2 hours afterwards, they burned 190 calories through an elevated metabolism. Is a very slight but constant elevation that finally petered out around 2 a.m. So they burned 519 calories above rest during exercise, but then they burned 37% more calories as their system got back to normal. And we're very interested in polyphenols. Most of these are flavonoids. These are the purples and reds and orange colors, all of these beneficial pigments that you find in fruits. We're very interested in what this can do for both obese people and athletes. So what we do know is that people who eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, their urine has a lot of phenolics in it, and people who had the highest, that's this line up here, who had the highest amount of phenolics in their urine had a 30% lower mortality rate during this 12-year study. Very important. Humans need these polyphenols from green tea and apples and grapes and berries to have good health. So we have been interested in what can this do for the athlete, and working with NC State University, Dole Foods, and a company called Nutrisorb, who developed a new supplement. And here it is. It's basically a protein powder that is sorbed with blueberry and green tea polyphenols. And it's a patented process where then you end up with a shelf-stable powder that is good for 1, 2, 3 years, and it has a high polyphenol level. In fact, 2 of those contain 3 cups of blueberries and a cup and a half of green tea. So what we did is we had athletes take that in, 2 of those every day for 2 weeks, and then 3 days while they exercised heavily in the lab. What we found is those who were on the supplement, one of our biggest findings is that viruses could not multiply very well in their blood. So this is the viral replication, and after exercise, especially when viruses tend to increase their replication rate and make people sick, we found that having a lot of polyphenols in the blood actually created an antiviral effect. We found that rhodiola rosea does that same thing. What we also found, though, is that the majority of the polyphenols actually go to the gut, and in the gut the bacteria break it down, and to our surprise, for the first time ever, we showed that during exercise the colon got hot, and some of these smaller phenolics that had been created by the bacteria escaped the gut and got back into the body where they exert beneficial health effects in these runners, improving their capacity to handle inflammation and oxidative stress better. Also, those phenols helped then to lower the capacity of viruses to multiply. So we think this is a highly important finding, and are continuing down this road of looking at what these plant extracts can do for athletes. And this is big news for the athletic community. And what we're very interested in at the Performance Lab is developing a mixed flavonoid carb caffeine supplement that supports performance and counters training-induced illness, inflammation, oxidative stress, and immune dysfunction. We have been working with a company in developing that product, and in these coated jars is a month's supply of a new flavonoid chew that has a mixture of different polyphenols in it, and we're looking at what it does to the human metabolome and to urine phenolics. And our subjects in this study are all overweight women who are chronically inflamed, have high oxidative stress, and we're testing the effect of taking that supplement on inflammation, oxidative stress, and here we have their 24-hour urine samples looking at the increase of phenolics in the urine and what that may mean for long-term health in overweight individuals. And then, of course, we're going to take that to the athletic population and test it there. So that's a quick summary of the type of work that I'm doing for Appalachian State University at the Human Performance Lab at the North Carolina Research Campus.